As you can see behind me, the crowd is swelling. The energy here on the ground is palpable as the Yatra continues its journey south.
In September 2022, Gandhi launched the Bharat Jodo Yatra. The strategy was brutally simple: walk 4,000 kilometers from India's southern tip to Kashmir. For 137 straight days, he physically marched through cities and rural villages. By staying on the road, he bypassed a deeply skeptical mainstream media and forced direct, unfiltered contact with the electorate. He followed this up with a second cross-country trek, the Nyaya Yatra, drawing massive crowds of young people and projecting a relentless message of national unity against divisive politics. The sheer physical toll of these marches eroded the long-held public perception of him as an entitled, out-of-touch prince. He stopped trying to engineer support from a desk. By replacing institutional strategy with thousands of miles of walking, he manufactured the authentic, street-level credibility he had lacked his entire life. Beyond the optics, the daily marches served as a mobile platform for a fierce critique of India's economic structure. He framed his opposition around the concept of crony capitalism, an economic system where business success depends heavily on close relationships between business leaders and government officials, leading to policies that favor a select few. He repeatedly pointed to the highly influential billionaire industrialist Gautam Adani as proof, arguing that the government was actively redesigning privatization laws to benefit a tiny circle of oligarchs. He pointed to the sudden demonetization of high-value currency notes in 2016 as a prime example, arguing the policy devastated farmers and informal workers while centralizing wealth at the top. Look at this visual comparison. While highlighting the extreme wealth concentration of the top 1%, Gandhi pitched the Nyaya scheme, a minimum income guarantee designed to directly inject cash into the poorest 20% of households. He aimed this economic messaging heavily toward female voters, promising aggressive job creation and arguing that empowering women in the workforce was the only viable path to economic recovery. He had been making some of these policy arguments for years. The message finally landed because, after thousands of miles on foot, the electorate was finally willing to listen to the messenger. The strategy translated to the 2024 general elections, where the Congress-led coalition secured 99 seats and regained the status of official opposition for the first time in a decade. Gandhi reclaimed his seat and assumed the constitutional role of the 12th leader of the opposition. He immediately weaponized his new position to push for a caste census, a comprehensive national survey to count the population of marginalized communities, ensuring government resources and quotas match actual demographic realities. After relentless pressure, the government caved in early 2025, announcing the adoption of the nationwide census. Within months, he had successfully converted the exhausting energy of his cross-country protests into undeniable, actionable legislative power. Gandhi currently operates as an aggressive watchdog, refusing to retreat from the active role he established on the road. By late 2025, he was back on the offensive, leading public demonstrations and demanding formal investigations into widespread electoral irregularities and alleged voter roll manipulation. To survive in Indian politics, he couldn't simply inhabit his family's political machine. He had to tear down its ivory tower infrastructure and rebuild his legitimacy from the dirt up. The 4,000-kilometer march demonstrated a hard-won political lesson. In modern India, opposition power is built on the road. The architecture of modern Indian politics is inextricably linked to one family tree, starting with Jawaharlal Nehru, the nation's first prime minister, and moving to his daughter, Indira Gandhi. This political dynasty built the scaffolding of the world's largest democracy. That lineage passed directly down to Indira's son, Rajiv, who served as the sixth prime minister, and eventually to his wife, Sonia Gandhi, who stepped in to lead the Indian National Congress Party. But for the heir to this political empire, childhood was defined by a strict separation from the public eye. Following the trauma of political assassinations that took the lives of both his grandmother and his father, Rahul Gandhi was largely homeschooled under heavy security, even completing his university education under a pseudonym to mask his identity. He initially bypassed New Delhi altogether. Seeking distance from politics, he moved to London to work as a management consultant for the Monitor Group, and later returned to India to found an outsourcing technology firm in Mumbai. When he finally entered politics to contest a parliamentary seat in 2004, the electorate didn't see a grassroots organizer working his way up from the local level. They saw the inevitable arrival of an elite successor stepping into his preordained role. True to his background, Gandhi approached his new role like a corporate consultant tasked with a massive turnaround. He focused heavily on the mechanics of the Congress Party. By initiating structural reforms within the Indian Youth Congress and the National Students' Union, he tried to boost party membership through top-down administrative democratization. But tinkering with internal algorithms and restructuring committees failed to resonate with voters outside the party's elite circles. A shifting, highly polarized Indian electorate was demanding a different kind of politics. This animated chart illustrates the stark disconnect. Congress plunged from 206 seats in 2009 down to a historical low of 44 in 2014 and 52 in 2019. Rivals used these repeated statistical defeats to frame him as an entitled insider, detached from average Indians. Reorganizing a party headquarters yields zero results when the voting public is actively rejecting the messenger. In March 2023, Gandhi was convicted in a defamation case over a campaign remark. The very next day, he was officially disqualified as a member of parliament and stripped of his seat. Without access to his traditional parliamentary platform, the conventional playbook of flying into cities for tightly controlled helicopter rally appearances was no longer a viable option. He initiated the Bharat Jodo Yatra, or Ununify India March. It was a grueling 1370-day physical walk, stretching over 4,000 kilometers from the southern tip of India all the way to Kashmir. Gone was the clean-cut management consultant. Walking through blistering heat and torrential rain, growing a thick beard, and sleeping in shipping container camps, Gandhi engaged in an intense display of physical endurance. Losing his seat in parliament forced him to build a political base from the pavement up. That 4,000-kilometer journey exposed him directly to the immediate grievances of the working class, replacing abstract institutional theories with hard, street-level realities. His economic platform became sharply specific. He began targeting crony capitalism, the concentration of wealth among a few billionaires, and the widespread economic fallout experienced by small businesses following the government's sudden demonetization of high-value currency. He also committed to concrete targets for social justice, publicly demanding that 33% of all parliamentary seats be reserved for women, while working to mainstream transgender and LGBTQ+ voices within his own party ranks. And rather than supporting rapid corporate deregulation, he leaned heavily into environmental protection and sustainable energy, reflecting the concerns of vulnerable ecosystems in his former constituency of Wayanad. By anchoring his policy platform in specific local issues, he systematically chipped away at his opponent's narrative that he was an out-of-touch dynast. The Yatra served as a mechanism to tether his legislative vision directly to the lived reality of marginalized voters. In the 2024 general elections, the Congress Party nearly doubled its previous performance, securing 99 seats and reclaiming official opposition status. Gandhi personally won the Rae-Bareli constituency by nearly 400,000 votes, resulting in his formal nomination as leader of the opposition. By stepping out of the boardroom and into the streets, he managed to pull his party back from the brink of electoral irrelevance. He is now bringing the momentum generated on the highways of India straight through the doors of the capital. In his first year leading the opposition, he successfully pressured the central government to commit to a nationwide caste census in 2025, a massive data collection effort designed to expose the depth of systemic inequality across the country. He has also taken on the role of a combative watchdog, recently organizing public demonstrations and demanding official election commission investigations into widespread voter roll irregularities and alleged vote theft. Over the span of 2 decades, Rahul Gandhi's trajectory offers a hard lesson in modern democracy. Inheriting a political legacy might guarantee a seat at the table, but true political survival requires action. When your grandmother and father are both assassinated while serving as Prime Minister of India, security becomes an absolute, suffocating priority.
Rahul Gandhi grew up completely shielded from the public eye. Yet, as the heir to the Nehru-Gandhi dynasty, he was simultaneously expected to one day lead a democracy of over 1 billion people. When he finally entered politics in the early 2000s, he operated firmly within the established system, shadowing his mother's leadership and relying heavily on the party's historic reputation. He learned the internal mechanics of the Indian National Congress perfectly, but that intense security perimeter had done its job too well. It kept him safe, but it also kept him disconnected from the voters themselves. His initial strategy to bridge that gap looked a lot like a corporate restructuring. He attempted to revitalize the party from the safety of New Delhi boardrooms by launching massive membership drives for the Indian Youth Congress. This is a classic case of top-down mobilization, trying to engineer grassroots enthusiasm through formal committees, think tanks, and strict organizational hierarchies, rather than spontaneous, on-the-ground momentum. This chart shows the brutal reality of that approach. In the 2014 general elections, Congress suffered its worst defeat in history, securing just 44 seats. 5 years later, the downward trajectory continued. The 2019 elections confirmed voters were actively rejecting the party's centralized approach. The situation reached a breaking point in 2023. Following a defamation conviction over comments made at a rally, Gandhi was stripped of his parliamentary seat entirely. The dynastic, boardroom-style political machine he inherited was broken. Survival meant leaving the compound and throwing out the family playbook altogether.